Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, Romantics. I'm here with New York Times bestselling author Brigid Kemmerer to talk about her debut adult romantasy, Warrior Princess Assassin. Welcome to the show, Brigid.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Very excited to have you here. And I know folks who are just listening to us, they don't get the benefit of seeing this beautiful cover and the wonderful sprayed edges, but I just can't stop looking at it. I don't know if you're having the same problem or because you have many, many beautiful covers. I was looking at your backlist, but this is just a gorgeous book.
Thank you. No, I was really excited when they sent me the final cover. I from the way they styled the dagger to the jewels in the crown. And it's funny when we first started talking about the cover, and I know your listeners won't be able to see it, but it has this kind of almost this velvety feel. The background is this peach, has
Yeah.
that velvety feel to it. That wasn't originally going to be the cover. The entire cover was going to be this kind of shimmery gold foil.
Okay.
And my editor called me, like did a FaceTime call and said, "Hey, we have this other type of cover material. What do you think?" And I fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it really it's very striking, and it's going to stand out on a bookshelf above many of the other. It's similar but different, and I think that's what you always want, isn't it?
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah, great, great. Well, I understand that you have a passion for barbells, and I was just trying to figure out what dark magic is this, and how do I avoid it?
It's funny. When Oh my goodness, I didn't realize we were going to start there. So I do. I love weightlifting, and anybody who would ever meet me would never think, oh, this is somebody who loves the gym, because I also love pizza,
Oh,
and
pasta.
right,
I'm with
exactly.
pasta. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never met a carb I didn't like.
yeah.
And but no, back in 2016, 2017, I quit the day job to become full-time author. And they say, when your hobby becomes your career, you need to find a new hobby. And, both my husband and I, we were kind of in this weird zone where we were kind of like spiraling, like didn't really know how to
Mm.
adjust to me not having, I had worked in finance, and I needed something new. I needed some kind of community with adults that was not, Twitter.
Right.
And I had a friend who had been going through postpartum depression, and she all of a
Mm.
sudden she was like, "Brigid, I started CrossFit and it changed my life." And I knew nothing about CrossFit whatsoever, like nothing at all. And probably for the best, because I might not have gone if I knew anything about it. And I was like, well, let me Google it and see if there's one near me. And there was one 5 minutes down the road. So I said, all right, I'll go take a class. And I will say I was well over 200 pounds. I was very out of shape, very overweight. But they were so welcoming and just invited me into just this group of
Ah,
people.
yeah.
And the entire focus, just as a woman, the entire focus wasn't about like what you looked like or how thin you were, or what size you were wearing. The entire focus was all about how strong you were. And
Oh,
it was
great.
so empowering, and it really
Yeah.
changed my life. And I fell in love with it. I fell in
Yeah,
love with it.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. All right. Maybe I won't avoid it as much as I was saying in the beginning then, because I
See, now you're
know.
going to go try, right?
Well, they do say women of a certain age, and I'm talking about myself here, you're supposed to do more weightlifting and things like that for your bones more than anything. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, alrighty. Well, no, I just had to have a little bit of fun there before we get started talking about
sure.
your book. But besides barbells, and we know that you started writing full time in 2016, I think you said, what else
Mhm.
can you tell us about yourself or your writing journey that you'd like to share?
So I have always loved writing. I've always loved storytelling. When I was growing up, my family moved a lot. My dad had a little bit of wanderlust, so we moved just about every year when I was growing up. So I was constantly changing schools, and my friends were, my consistent friends were always books. And I remember when I was about 12 years old, there was this librarian, and at the time this was probably like 1989, 1990. And there was this librarian um, where we lived who seemed to know the entire YA section, which back then, I'm sure you remember, the entire YA section was like 3 shelves in the
Yes,
library, right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
And she was like a superhero to me. She was amazing.
Mm.
And because she seemed to know every single book. And she was publishing her own book.
Ah,
And that to me was just phenomenal. That
mhm.
just this woman that I knew could be an author. And I think that that really kind of implanted in my brain that, that anybody can be an author, that anybody can have a story to share. I started writing, I wrote a lot during high school. One of my favorite memories was getting in trouble during math class because I was writing under my notebook. Um, and it wasn't until my late 20s that I really started looking at getting published. And that took years and years. I didn't get published
Yeah.
until I was in my 30s. And here we are today.
Yeah, great story. Oh, that's great.
Thanks.
I'm glad that you had a kind of a champion like that for you, especially in the guise of a librarian. Those are always special, that's for sure.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
for sure. Yeah. Well, when I first picked up this book, and I'm going to hold it up here again, just because it's so pretty to look at. Uh, when I first picked up the book, I thought the title, Warrior Princess Assassin, reflected different aspects of your female protagonist. This is before I read the back cover blurb or any of it, right?
Mhm.
But what we have is something very, very different, and it's just brilliantly crafted. I loved it. And
Thank you.
so why don't you tell us a little bit more about the relationship dynamic between Jory, Kai, and Asher's story? And if you want to give us kind of the summary, that's great too. Whatever works for you.
Sure. So, Warrior Princess Assassin is about this Princess Marjoriana, who goes by Jory for short, who is secretly best friends with an assassin named Asher. And of course, their friendship is totally secret because a princess can't be friends with an assassin. Sorry about my dog in the
No,
background.
that's okay. I've got one
Um,
too. That'll pop up.
and um, so Jory is best friends with Asher, this assassin, and of course, also, in her heart, secretly in love with him. They've
Yeah.
been friends since childhood. But Jory knows that because she is a princess, she has to marry somebody else out of obligation. And she has been promised to marry Maddox Chironin, Kai, the king of a neighboring nation, to seal an alliance that will help protect both Jory's people and Kai's people. Jory really wants nothing to do with this alliance whatsoever. She is
Yeah.
terrified of Kai. He has this terrible reputation of basically being this vicious, warmongering king. She doesn't want to meet him, wants nothing to do with him, but she is basically prepared to fulfill her duty because she knows it's very important to her kingdom. But then the night before she is due to get married, Asher, her best friend, the assassin, shows up and says that he has received orders to kill the man that she is due to marry and to kill her. And he asks, what does she want to do about it? And I am just so excited for people to read this story.
Yeah.
From the instant I first thought of these 3 characters and wanted to send them on their journey, I could not stop thinking about them.
Yeah, yeah. I was so curious how you were going to get them out of this, and I think you found the right way to do it. The absolutely perfect way to do it. It was such a good read.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you bet you. So this book is the first in a brand new trilogy, which is always a lot of fun. The new sparkly thing is always fun. I know as an author, whenever you get to build something new. But this is just a slight deviation from your young adult stories, which I think maybe you're a little bit more better known for. What
Yes.
what made you decide to give writing like an adult fantasy, I'm sorry, romantasy, a try? And maybe how did you have to adjust your writing to fit that new audience?
So, I've been writing in the young adult space for over 10 years, and I love writing for teenagers. I will hopefully continue writing for teenagers. As a mom myself, I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
I put a lot of care and thought into, especially my books for young people, because, I know I have readers as young as 10 and 11 years old, where, when I'm crafting these stories, I want to make sure that I'm making sure that kids are protected and safe from what they're reading, but also that I'm really telling a story that's very authentic to them. And especially when I write any kind of scenes that have intimacy in a YA novel, I write it in such a way that if you know, you know. But if you don't, you don't, right? And we can all think back to books that we read as a teenager where if we
Yeah.
revisit them now, we're like, oh wait, right? Like, oh, was that happening? Right. And but then moving into the adult space, since I had written in the YA space for so long, I had so many adult readers, so many adult readers who, had either grown up with
Yeah.
my books or, there's so many adult readers of YA anyway, who kept saying, I love your books. I love your stories. Are you ever going to write an adult story?
Hmm.
And I started thinking, I do think I would love to write an adult story. Even in my Defy the Night trilogy, my characters had started to age up. They're all really 18 to 24 in that story. If we had a shelf for new adult in the bookstore, that series would probably sit there. And when I started writing Warrior Princess Assassin, I knew that it would give me an opportunity to give these characters a little greater depth, that I would be able to give them some challenges and some backgrounds that I wouldn't necessarily be able to explore in the young adult space.
Hmm.
And I would be able to open the door with the intimacy, that I know a lot of
Yeah.
readers want.
Right. Right. Absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. Well, there are moments in this story that you reveal, and just kudos to you with you and your writing. There's just moments of real tenderness in this story, and one that comes to mind right off the bat is when Asher is offering Jory a cookie, and that's all I'll say. So I don't spoil the fun with that one. But then there's these moments of what, like these kind of cringeworthy brutality that goes on, which isn't uncommon in romantasies. That's part of why we love these stories. You tend to get some of those extremes, but poor Asher,
Poor Asher.
you really put that guy through the ringer. And I guess my question to you is how hard is it for you as an author to cause your characters, that kind of pain and suffering and, trials and tribulations and things?
I mean, so anytime I'm writing a scene, especially when I'm putting somebody through something really, really traumatic, it- I definitely have to sit with the emotion of it. Sometimes it's hard to write, and this is going to sound really silly. Sometimes when I am typing those scenes, I have to close my eyes.
Ah,
Even even though
okay,
it doesn't matter,
interesting.
like it's
Yeah.
it's funny to me. And but I will also say I do tend to lean into it. And, I used to joke that I like to chase my characters up a tree and then set the tree on fire, right? And, make it as bad as it can. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
be like, all right, this is pretty bad. How can I make it worse? Right.
Yeah.
And because I do want to put my characters in a situation where sometimes it does feel like, oh, there is no way out. Like, how are we
Mhm.
going to resolve this? And then I do like figuring out how we are going to resolve it. I think there's something really powerful in that speaks to the human spirit,
Yeah.
especially right now. I think there's a reason people are clamoring for, romantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you figuring it out as you write it, or do you tend to have these stories kind of fully developed before you even put, pen to paper, as they say?
I tend to have a very loose outline. So I have my
Okay.
major plot points in mind. So I know, the big things that I want to hit. But as far as anything minor, I like to discover minor things as I'm writing.
Okay. Okay.
Especially
All right.
side characters, I like to let them kind of develop on the page, because it's a lot of fun to see what kind of like banter happens, or
Yeah.
who becomes a bigger character or a smaller one.
Yeah, sometimes you have to really watch those secondary characters because they can try and take over the
They
story, and you
can.
have to kind of whack them back down. Uh, well, one of the things I like to dive into on this show is finding the story's undercurrent with the author, and it's that second, what I call the second beating heart of the story that tends to flow beneath the lover's journey, and it also helps propel the story forward. What undercurrent is flowing beneath Jory, Kai, and Asher's story, do you think?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I would say for the three of them, every single one of them has a want and has a need that's not being fulfilled. And I worked really carefully to make sure that it was because they all have different connections with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because, a relationship does form among all three of them, I needed to make sure that it wasn't unbalanced. So, Jory has something that she wants and needs that she gets a little bit of from Kai and she gets a little bit of from Asher. And same with Asher. He gets a little bit
Mm-hmm.
from Jory and a little bit from Kai. And same with Kai, a little bit from Jory and a little
Yeah.
bit from Asher. And it was really satisfying to finally see all of it come together and see all three of them kind of realize that they all three need each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was such a I haven't read a story quite like this before, and I wasn't sure how you were going to bring that relationship of that trio together, and I just found it so beautiful. So
Thank you.
yeah, it especially the moments between Kai and Asher actually stand out in my mind a little bit more than the others. Just his care of Asher, and it just that was like that really touched my heart. The way Kai was with Asher, especially in the beginning when
Mhm,
Asher Asher was suffering,
mhm.
at the hands of other people. So yeah, no, it's great.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. So I always like to talk about tropes with the
Mhm.
authors because this is romance and we love our tropes.
Yes,
What do you have a couple that comes to the top of your mind that readers can look forward to while reading this story?
absolutely. So I would definitely say enemies to lovers is a big one.
Okay. Yeah.
And also friends to lovers happens a little bit here. And the forced proximity, the only one
Yeah.
bed, but also the
Yeah.
only one horse.
Ah,
Anybody who likes, kind of a hurt slash comfort trope, where somebody has been
yeah.
injured and kind of needs to be nursed. That's definitely in there. Um, any kind of I'm just going to list like every single one of my favorite tropes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
Go
of the
for it.
royal intrigue is definitely there. Little bit of secret identity is in there. Um, yeah, I think I hit them all.
Okay, great. No, that's wonderful. That's what I call you trope the hell out of the book, so which is wonderful, right? I always like to ask too if there is a romance novel that you have read recently that you loved and would recommend, and maybe why,
Oh,
if you recall.
let's see. I really loved The Starlight Heir by Amelie
Okay.
Howard. And I know the sequel is coming out pretty soon, I believe. I can't remember
Okay.
the title of the sequel, but the Starlight Heir was also a romantasy. I think she did it really cleverly. She also has a little bit of a love triangle, not quite the same as mine, but
Yeah.
very very creatively done.
Okay. Great. 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 I always like to add these recommendations to the show notes and things like that. So thank you.
Sure.
And now I'm going to go a little bit behind the scenes, find out a little bit more about Bridget and your process. And so my first question to you is what is your favorite thing that you like to do when you finish a book? How do you celebrate? How do you treat yourself? Give us the goods.
Okay, so this is really terrible. I am the quintessential Capricorn, and when I finish a book, I just start the next one. Like I don't.
You don't even have like a
No,
pizza or something like that, pizza dinner or anything, huh?
no, and the sad thing is, like, usually my kids are done with because if I'm on deadline, they get a lot of pizza or chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. So usually by the time I finish a book, they're like, "Yay, mom can make dinner."
All right, all right. Well, we'll have to work on that with
I
you.
know, I know, I'm no fun.
Got to celebrate all of those because it's such an achievement whenever you finish a book. So
It's
yeah,
you're right. It's true. I should.
so writing requires long hours at the keyboard, especially when you're writing a couple of books a year. How do you keep yourself healthy? How do you keep your, the carpal tunnel away, the back pain away? What do you do?
So for me, I will definitely say that I do think that the weightlifting helps. I know this sounds silly and not to pitch it again. Um, the because I used to have a lot of back issues, and then after I started doing the weightlifting, a lot of it went away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even the carpal tunnel and stuff like that, I just really think that the grip strength, and all of the wrist work has. I mean, really, I
Okay.
don't struggle with any of that anymore. I mean,
Okay.
knock on wood. I'm
Yeah,
almost
that's
50 years
great.
old, so we'll see how long we can keep it going. But I take my vitamins, all the good stuff.
Okay.
It's funny. My husband teases me. He calls it my gummy salad. But because I do it every night, but I swear by it, like, especially, all the stuff that women in their late 40s have to do, like the extra vitamin
Yes.
D,
Oh my gosh.
the
Yes. Yeah.
magnesium, the zinc,
I do know, unfortunately.
right.
All right, great. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm going to have to try that weightlifting thing. I think you've converted me, unfortunately.
Well,
So
find something
scary.
fun. Oh, it doesn't have to be scary. Like, find like an F-45 or something, and because those are really kind of a little less intense.
Okay, I'll take. We've got a local Y who's just great, so I'll have to
Oh, there
look
you
up and see
go.
what they
Yeah.
have. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, before we go, can you give us a hint about what's coming up next?
Yes. So Warrior Princess Assassin is just coming out, but I also have the final book in my Forging Silver trilogy, which is going to be Sparking Fire Out of Fate, which comes out in January of 2026. And I know I have a
Right.
lot of readers who are desperate for that one.
All right. Super, super. All righty. And then do we have a thought about when the second book of the is it braid it's called
The
Braided
Braided Fate series, that
yeah,
one.
Braided
So
Face
I'm
series.
writing it right now. I don't have a
Okay.
release date for it yet, but I'm hopeful it'll be next year.
Okay. All right. Maybe sometime around this time next
I'm
year
hopeful.
we'll see it.
Yeah.
All right. Fingers crossed. All right. Great. Well, folks, when this episode airs, Warrior Princess Assassin will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. You can check out Brigid's website at brigidkemmerer.com. Brigid, what social media platform are you most active on?
Instagram is by far my most active. I'm also on TikTok a little bit.
Okay. And is it just is your handle just your name?
Yep, just Brigid
You,
Kemmerer.
Okay, all right. Sometimes authors throw in other words in
Oh
there, so I
yeah.
just always like to double check. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Bridget. It was such a delight to have you here, get to know you, and congratulations on your new adventure with this trilogy. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you so so much. It was so great to join you too.
All right. Well, many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.